Europa. Bro, what the f was that? Now, gaming as a whole is based on experiences, of course, and pulling the player into their worlds to be immersed to potentially no end. And the same can be said about movies in general, but better yet, and this is totally not because of me trying to reel you into a reference for this game, but Studio Ghibli animated movies, man. Now, if you've seen a Ghibli movie or two, you know it's absolutely brimming with heart as well as charm, with its awesome cast of characters and even cooler settings that strike the perfect mix between fantasy and reality. The only thing missing in these movies is the feeling that, man, I wish I could play them for myself to kind of get the feeling of immersion. And would you look at that? In walks in Europa.
Is it fat enough?
A game that is the love child of Journey, if anyone remembers that, and the Studio Ghibli creations. Now, I know this channel is almost all about role-playing games in general, of course, and covering those, but I am a firm believer that there should always be some kind of balance or counterweight, if you will, to gaming. With all these expansive RPGs out there, it's more than a breath of fresh air to play something smaller in size, but just as large in the effect it has on a person. And Europa is exactly that, so subscribe if you're new, and let's get into whatever the f this game was and why you should drop literally every game you're playing right now and jump on the Europa train. Now, you've probably heard numerous times already, but Europa is a very charming game and it starts you off as Z.
Z? You talking about Z? Hey, I know the guy.
Who is this Pinocchio looking little kid who is not so hot on the heels of his father, admittedly. And I say not so hot because, for lack of better explanation, your father, aka the scientist in this game, has scattered all kinds of pages of his journal across the lands, the serene lands, the calm lands. I don't even know what lands these are called, but it's calm lands. But on top of the journal, you're also tasked with getting to the great island that you see on the horizon. Now, you as Z decide to follow along, of course, and slowly piece together why this world is the way that it is and what has effectively happened to humanity. And that's pretty much the gist of the story, as I don't really want to spoil any of it, honestly, because the game runs for about 3 to 4 hours, first of all, so it's a short ordeal, but also because it's one of those games where you really have to experience it for yourself to really get hooked into its charm fully. Now, earlier I mentioned the game Journey because I do feel like Europa can be compared to that masterpiece of a freaking game because of the way the game plays and the way that the story is told through music and scenery as well. As for controls and gameplay, there are about 4 or 5 buttons that you need to memorize, which is you can glide, you can jump, you can boost, and you can glide some more. Like, there's not really much else to do. There's no combat in this game, unfortunately, for some, of course, and all you end up doing is simple puzzles and a bunch of floating about, like I said, but it's not necessarily what you do, but how you do it, bro. I mean, I've been joking around with the simplicity of this game, as you probably might have told by now, but it's all jokes because I absolutely freaking love the way Europa plays, and I'm just in love with the game in general. I went into this not expecting too much, but was quickly, and I mean very quickly, freaking blown away by the amazing charm that this game has. Very early on, you notice that not all is well in these lands, and going through it, looking at abandoned structures and shells of creatures or beings that inhabited these lands long before you, gives you the sense that even though it looks gorgeous and inviting to explore, something eerie and potentially terrible has transpired. And it's the same overarching feeling throughout the freaking game as you go through it. A few different biomes and levels, like I said, man, it's around 4 hours or 4-ish hours in runtime, depending on if you go for collectibles or not. But the different biomes in the game as well, man, they're all so charming and they kind of fit the bill. They hit the brief, as they like to corporately call, hitting the brief. The game is an emotional game, like I've mentioned multiple times, and I honestly didn't know I would get so pulled into it. I always wanted to know what happens next and what the next journal page would say as well. The music, man. Bro, Jesus, man, the music in this game, absolute top tier. I love music in games like this where it's such, they really bring out emotions in you, and I do hope I'm not the only one saying this. Please do comment down below if you also agree with this. But music, man, music makes or breaks a game in all honesty, and this one freaking makes it. Also, on a side note, I really do have to stop saying journey so many freaking times already in this video, man, but this is a journey. Now, everything has this flow to it, and it's more than evident in the traversal where you're either running around or floating in the air thanks to some conveniently placed blue orbs or spheres as well that boost you upwards or pretty much in every direction you wish to go for that matter. There are also some moments where you go through this on rails flying bit where you kind of see a bird's eye view of the world, as well as some massive creature flying around in front of you, or sometimes pooping freaking explosive things at you at the end of the game. Now, if you know, you know. I felt like at a moment in the game, this freaking creature was shitting on me for some reason. It felt weird. I felt it was the camera angle more than anything, but it felt weird in general. Now, like I said before, you can go and collect all the 4D emerald pieces that, or minerals as they're called, I believe. If you go and collect all of those, the runtime will probably be extended by a good chunk. But for me, man, this game was at its best when I didn't overstay my welcome in the levels or in the biomes, if that makes sense at all. The idea that you're just passing through on your way to the great island in the sky and kind of figuring things out as you go really hit home for me personally. And I know for some people, admittedly, these kinds of games can be boring, where it just boils down to press forward simulator and watch things transpire, as there are genuinely moments in the game where you don't really press any freaking buttons at all and you just progress. And while in other games I would probably like to have more input, Europa is not trying to be a game that is rich in gameplay mechanics or be this graphical powerhouse, broski. Instead, you get more heart than almost any other release coming out this year, and I gotta be very honest with that, as I've already finished the game and am of course planning on running it back once more at least to see how the world feels now that I know more about the overarching narrative as well. The game runs amazing on the Steam Deck, as you probably might have heard already from ProtonDB, so it's good to journey while you freaking journey. I mean, mobile gaming in the real sense, not mobile gaming as in phones. If you mobile game, I'll be honest, you a screw up. And I swear this is the last time I freaking say journey. The word journey, no more. But as with this, as well as every other game out there, literally, it all boils down to, is the game fun and worthwhile to play? Now, it has become customary at this point in this channel. I like to rate games on a 3-tier list system of day one buys, maybe waits, and only fans, or only for fans, yes, pun intended. This game is one of the very few games that I would no doubt rate a day one buy, broski, for a good few reasons, of course, that I will bore you with right now. As a matter of fact, the game costs about as much as a meal that you can order to your home. You can arguably get more satisfaction out of playing Europa than eating food, which sounded way better in my head, in all honesty, so I'm just gonna gloss over that. It is a memorable experience, to say the very least, and will for sure stick with people in a similar way that Journey did at the time. Now, if you are a fan of these kinds of interactive bite-sized games, then this is an absolute no-brainer, of course, man. This is a masterpiece in non-verbal storytelling and just pulling you into its world, with how the game just flows together and how everything just works as a unit. Now, I say a masterpiece in non-verbal storytelling, but there's also voice acting in the game, or a singular voice in your father that's reading the journal. But while that's good, it's all the other things around the game, like collecting the journal pages, drawing pictures into your journal, or collecting the emeralds. It makes for this wholesome experience, and I feel like this game is aiming to be a wholesome experience. Now, for people not familiar with the genre and the type of game that Europa is in general, man, this is more like a movie than anything else, where instead of sitting back on the couch and hoping not to fall asleep, like, let's be honest, we all do that, instead you press a few buttons and end up feeling like you are a part of this world. And that's something a very few games actually manage, and those games cost about thrice as much and are 100 times the scale of this game. Looking at Throne and Liberty, for example, man, which admittedly it's a completely different type of game, yes, but it ends up for me personally just being mindless button pressing. And while that's not a bad thing necessarily, because yes, I had fun playing that game too in parts. Now, video for that will be coming soon, so subscribe if you haven't already. Europa manages to do more with less because it invokes emotions most of all. It pulls you into its world and has everything it takes to stick with your mind like bees on honey. But let's be honest, man, what do I know, man? I'm just a guy on the internet who likes this game and likes more people to be talking about this game, so of course I'm gonna bring that up. So now I want to hear your opinion on Europa. If you're hyped to play this game, if you're looking to play this game, or if you have played it already, man, any and all comments will take this video a long way, and let's converse. I don't know how to say that, man. Let's talk below in the comments, man. I've been your broski. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. If you did, like the video, subscribe. I don't really know how to end this video, so man, if you're interested, click this link right here to watch another video, or this link as well. So man, hasta prontissimo, and catch you next time.